All right, what's up guys? So today we're gonna talk about rifle reloads. Now when it comes to rifle reloads, I think there's a couple of different schools of thought. One is the guys who practice a lot of these on the flat range. They're doing a bunch of 1R1s and kind of judge your skill level based off of how fast you can do a presentation, how fast you can do a reload, right? Justin and I both kind of disagree with that methodology. We used to be those guys for sure, but there's so much more to shooting that you should be getting good at versus spending your hard-earned time, money, and ammo on the range shooting things like 1R1s. However, if you are trying to master the reload, there are some really easy low round count drills that you can do to get good at that. But in our opinion, the best way to get good at it is in dry fire. So the best way is probably grab some dummy rounds and clear out your guns and practice this in dry fire from whatever kind of kit you're running, whether that's a belt, a chest rig, a plate carrier, what have you. So just keep that in mind. I think this is the best thing to do in dry fire, but dry fire videos are kind of boring. So we wanted to bring you a live fire video today. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna kind of break down how I reload the gun as a right-handed shooter, and then Justin's gonna hop on this exact same gun and show you how he reloads the gun as a lefty, which is pretty interesting. And he's also gonna show you how to do it on both a gun that is set up for a lefty, so something like an Ambi lower, and he's also gonna show you how he would do it on a kind of a mil-spec lower with no Ambi controls whatsoever. As far as the gun that we're using today, so we're just gonna both shoot the same gun. This is my Mark 18 build. So obviously the upper here is from Daniel Defense. It's a complete upper from them. Yeah, pretty basic, Mark 18. The lower is what's kind of interesting. So this is the Griffin Armament Mark II lower. And this thing has actually some pretty nice features. So big shout out to them. First of all, they did send this out for me to check out, and I really appreciate them doing that. I think it's the perfect lower for this build. On the left side over here, kind of for my righties, only real thing that's pretty interesting is having a slightly enlarged bolt release. So really easy to hit that thing, right? Kind of enlarged and serrated. Pretty nice. For my lefties, you've got a magazine catch over here, which is great. And then on the right side, what is kind of neat for the right-handed shooters is you've got a bolt catch, bolt release over here as well. So if I just put a little bit of upward pressure there and run this charging handle, I can lock my bolt back. I find this is actually the most helpful for clearing things like double feeds and things like that. But some dudes do like to run their index finger up there and insert a mag and just kind of hit that, right? And drop the bolt that way. I don't usually end up doing that, but it is a nice feature to have, and I certainly like it for being able to lock the bolt back. So with that said, we're gonna go ahead and walk you through how we like to reload the rifle, maybe some principles and techniques that you guys can apply as well. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So there's basically two kinds of reloads that we're going to talk about. One is bolt lock reloads. So that is when my gun has gone empty and the bolt is locked to the rear and I need to get more ammo in the gun. The other one is a speed reloads or a bolt forward reload. So that's going to be where obviously my bolt is forward and all I'm doing is I'm dropping whatever ammo was in the gun in favor of 30 new rounds of ammo, right? So that's going to be a round chambered bolt forward and just popping this one in and I'm good to go with 30 plus one right off the bat. There are applications for all of this. For Justin and I, we shoot a lot of competition, do a lot of performance shooting. Speed reloads make a lot of sense. It kind of carries over from what we do with pistols. However, talking to the guys who have kind of been there and done that, there's absolutely a place and a time for doing speed reloads in kind of your more real world applications. So talk to somebody who's been there and done that as far as your opinion on that. But I think knowing how to do both, be good at both, is pretty important. So bolt lock reloads, we're gonna just talk about that first. And to demo this, I'm gonna just use an empty mag. So, a few key principles here, right? When it comes to reloading the rifle, number one thing is we can kind of do this either in our shoulder or out of our shoulder. So in shoulder would look something like this, where I'm shooting, I'm dropping the mag, I'm keeping the stock in my shoulder, and I'm reloading while everything is kind of staying connected here. The other way is to actually drop the gun into under my armpit or kind of chicken wing the gun, just like I'm doing right now. This is oftentimes how I will hold my gun when I'm making ready or I'm loading my gun. And so it's a very natural spot to do my reload. Everything is right here where I can see it, right? And my sling is getting caught. Everything is right here where I can see it and I can kind of see what's going on. I can press check whatever I need to do. And this tends to be pretty stable. If I've got to kind of work around some cover or even reloading on the move sometimes, it's kind of nice to tuck the gun, do a reload down here under the arm, and then get the gun back up. So you could do either one. The thing about it is nothing really changes except where the gun is. Everything else about the reload remains the same. So what I'm going to talk about predominantly is the in-shoulder reload today, but you guys can kind of plug that in. Everything should stay the same. You just kind of drop the gun if you're going to do an out-of-shoulder reload. So one of the main things I see people mess up right off the bat is when they go ahead and drop the magazine out of their gun. So let's say we're shooting and we go ahead and we get bolt lock. From here, a lot of people will kind of cant the gun or turn the gun and drop their mag, and the mag does not drop free just like that, right? So this is out, but it's not dropping all the way free, right? And the problem with that is then as I bring the new mag up, I've got to then strip the old mag away before I can insert the new one, which is obviously just kind of wasting time. Okay, so biggest thing for me to be really efficient is I'm going to try to drop the mag out of the gun while the mag is still kind of vertical to the ground. So I don't want to turn it first. I want to, as soon as I recognize bolt lock, I'm going to drop that magazine, and then I will kind of cant the gun to kind of line it up for that next fresh mag, okay? So always make sure you are dropping the magazine while it is kind of straight up and down so that gravity can help you and that thing can just drop right out. All right, so once I have dropped my mag out, making sure that I'm keeping the gun kind of upright while I do so. The next thing is to make sure that I'm getting my left hand or my support hand back to that next magazine. Now this is gonna kind of depend on how you have your kit set up. So you may be reloading from a chest rig or a plate carrier. I'm reloading from kind of my 2-gun setup. So this is just a basic USPSA belt that I've got, just 2 pistol mags and a rifle mag. Super, super simple. All I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of run my hand back, and I've got my magazine canted a little bit to the rear. That's just a personal preference for me. I find that as I'm kind of throwing my elbow back, I can find the mag and just kind of jerk the elbow back and find the mag really easily, right? So the way we grip the magazine is going to matter quite a bit. So if I start with my thumb wrapped around the back of the mag, kind of the back of the spine here, right? Because I run my hand back, I find the spine, I run my thumb up into the mag, and then I grip the mag and bring it out. If I stay with this grip right here and I insert it into the mag well here, what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to switch then and bring my thumb up to hit that bolt release, right? Not a huge deal, but it definitely is going to cost you maybe 0.2 of a second or so on your reloads. So doing kind of these flat range static reloads, that's definitely going to hurt when I'm doing something like a hit factor drill or something like that. So what I want to do is make sure that I actually switch my grip as I go. So I'm gonna bring the hand back. I'm going to contact that mag, run my thumb right into the spine of the mag. I'm going to jerk my elbow back and then start bringing it up. I'm gonna cant the gun. And as I cant the gun, I'm going to take my thumb from the back of it and just switch it to the side. That's going to allow me to insert the mag, reach up, and my thumb is pretty much right there over the bolt release. Hit that with my thumb, and then just throw my hand back out here on the rail and get back on the sights, okay? So, pretty straightforward. One more time without so much talking. Dropping the mag, access the mag, switch my grip, insert, drop the bolt, hand back on the rail. That's pretty much it, right? So let's go ahead and jump into this. I'll do a couple live fire demos here, give you guys an idea of what we're kind of looking for, and then I'll have Justin jump on the gun and he'll talk about how he does it as a lefty. All right, so let's go ahead and set up a couple of drills here. So the first one we're gonna do is just a 1R1. So I know I kind of trashed on 1R1s before, but it is a pretty efficient way to show you guys the reload split. Now, all I really care about here is going to be that split time between shot 1 and shot 2. And we're really just kind of looking for max efficiency without burning a bunch of ammo here. And then we're gonna move into one reload like 3 or 4, because we're gonna talk about reconnecting to the rifle and building that mount back up, which we think is kind of the most important thing to focus on after a reload. So I've got one in the chamber here. I've got an empty mag in the gun, so I will get bolt lock, and then I've got a partial magazine on my belt. Let's go ahead and just do one reload one. I'll go ahead and just kind of give myself a beep and see what we can kind of put together. Let's start out at a nice, easy, like half pace speed. Here we go. All right, so just moving super nice and slow. That's a 257, nothing crazy, right? Biggest thing for me is just making sure that as soon as the round goes off, as soon as I feel that round go, because I was planning it, or I feel that bolt lock to the rear, my hand is already starting to move for that new mag, and you notice my mag still dropped out while the gun was still in my shoulder, and it just fell directly to the ground without kind of turning the gun first, right? That's exactly what I'm looking for. I know I can do a little bit better about connecting to a visual spot. Now, for me, the eyes are pretty important, and where I'm looking is pretty important when I do this reload. So for me, I like to look on the left side of the receiver. I kind of like to look where like my serial number is, right? Which is actually taped up. But I kind of look on this side of the magazine receiver. So as I come up, I'm kind of looking to the near side, right? And that helps me kind of line that up, right? The other thing that I'm looking for is just because I know how the magazine well is canted, I know that as I bring the magazine up, I'm going to kind of bring my wrist back and kind of twist it backwards in order to get that to line up pretty well. So let's go ahead and set this up again. All right, so we got around in there. Here we go, 1R1. All right, so a little bit of a fumble there on the insertion. Let's see what that reload time. That was a 242, so about the same. Just kind of working at that 50% speed. I think if you're still dialing in technique, this is important to do. Just make sure everything is nice and smooth. And then once you know that your technique is solid, then you start ramping up the speed. All right, so let's go ahead and try this again. We'll add a ready up to that as well. All right, there we go, nice and smooth. That was a 193. So we're sitting there right at just under 2 seconds. Not pushing the hand speed super fast, nothing super crazy is happening, but we're just being really efficient with our technique, and I think that is a good way to do it. So figure out how that technique is gonna work for you, make sure there's no wasted movements, and then start adding hand speed and a better reaction time. Let's go ahead and shoot, what should we do next, Justin? Like a 1R3 maybe?
Yeah, 1R3.
1R3, okay. So in order to demo the importance of connecting to the rifle properly after the reload, we're gonna go ahead and shoot like a 1R3. And actually for this, I'm gonna go ahead and back up. Let's back up to like 20 yards. So at 20 yards back here, right, I should be able to shoot pretty fast, but if I'm not careful, if I don't have the gun connected to my body really well, I'm gonna throw Charlies, right? So I wanna be pretty careful about this. I'm gonna see my dot in the center, one shot reload, and I'm connecting back to the gun, and the way I re-grip the gun is gonna be super important. So for me, I'm getting my hand to hit that bolt release, and then it needs to snap right back out to the rail. I'm kind of having to dip just under my sling swivel, run back out, and then I'm just kind of gripping this rail, and as soon as I kind of clear my hand stop up here, I'm kind of cinching that gun back into my shoulder, drop my elbow, cinch it back in, and that's gonna tighten everything right back up for me. The nice thing about in-shoulder reloads though is the stock isn't gonna move, so the stock should pretty much be in the exact same spot, which is going to help out quite a bit with rebuilding that connection. All right, let's try it out. 1 reload 3 we're about 20 yards here. Stand by. All right, that was a little bit better. Reload there was a 207. 207 for 1 reload 3 at 20 yards. And let's give it one more go. Stand by. All right. That one was a 206. So pretty consistent back here, just over that 2-second mark at 20 yards. A lot of the time here is getting my dot back on target and making sure that I'm seeing that a little bit better. Of course, target's a little bit smaller, we're farther away. You could practice this at 5 yards, you could practice at 7 yards. Honestly, I would say practice this in dry fire and then come out and confirm how fast you can get that reload done at a couple different distances, right? For me, testing it on a little bit smaller target is a little bit better training value than just doing it at 5, where I can kind of get away with however the gun comes back up, wherever I see the dot on brown, I can pretty much pull the trigger and I'm gonna get a decent hit. Back here, if I'm just a little bit off, super easy to throw a delta, and I definitely have maybe 2 or 3 Charlies up there on the target as well. So hope that makes sense to you guys. Just really basic bolt lock reloads from a right-handed shooter's perspective. Let's go ahead and have Justin jump on the camera now and walk you through how he does it.
All right, guys, so let's talk about some of the differences when it comes to being a left-handed shooter with rifle reloads. I personally like to run ambidextrous controls on my rifles, specifically an Ambi safety, Ambi charging handle, and an Ambi magazine release. I don't personally care about an Ambi bolt release, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Now, let's just say maybe you're law enforcement, maybe you're military, and you're issued a duty rifle that you cannot make any modifications to. I'm gonna run through kind of how I would go about reloading a rifle with just a standard mil-spec non-ambi lower, okay? The way I reload is very similar to Brennan as far as technique goes. I like to keep my rifle, the stock connected to my shoulder. I personally don't really dip the gun underneath or the stock underneath my shoulder unless I'm doing like a really long movement or something like that. That may be change a little bit if you have a really heavy rifle, right? And you just can't hold it out there. You know, you got like a 13 or 14 pound rifle or something like that, it's going to be pretty difficult. But yeah, you probably should just not be a weak boy. So I like to keep the stock in my shoulder. And as far as the efficiency and everything, it's all the same. Now let's talk about doing this with a non-ambi lower. So the very first thing is going to be getting the magazine out, in which case you're going to have to take your support hand and hit the magazine release with your support hand thumb, right? It's not super efficient, but it's what we have to do if this is the lower we're working with. So we're gonna go back, we're gonna hit that, and then as soon as we get that out, we're gonna go and retrieve our next mag. And from here, we're gonna insert the mag, and there's 2 different ways that we can drop the bolt, okay? And the one way is going to be my preferred way, if your fingers are long enough to actually drop it with your pointer finger, okay? On your strong hand, on your firing hand. If you have small hands or something like that and you can't reach it with your pointer finger, you can either take your hand off fire control and just use your entire hand to kind of just hit it like that, or you can actually come around with your support hand and hit it right there. It really kind of depends on what you want and what you like. Test them both out and see which one works for you. All right, so let's do a live fire demo of this and see what kind of splits we can get here. One thing Brennan did not mention is flipping your safety on mid-reload. I personally do not, but you can if you want to. Doesn't really matter in my opinion. The gun's dry, like not really a big deal.
It also doesn't cost you any time.
Yeah, it doesn't really cost you any time if you practice it and you get good at it, especially with these 45-degree safeties. It's so easy to do, but I'll be honest, I don't do them, and yeah, I don't really think it's a big deal. But all right, let's go ahead and do this. Here we go. Stand by. I'm gonna go at 50% speed. Magazine out, come in, just like that. Not pushing speed at all. That was a 356 split. Staging my pointer finger on the bolt release right after I hit the mag out. Now let's see what that looks like with using our support hand to drop the bolt release. Here we go. Stand by. Magazine out, reach around, just like that. So a little more awkward, but pretty much the same time as about, there's a 394. All right, so let's do that full speed and see what we can get here. Okay, so that, pretty good, right? And you can do that same exact technique using a completely non-ambi mil-spec lower. The split on that was 184. Not bad. All right, so let's talk about ambi controls. Now, like I said, I like to use an ambi charging handle, safety, and magazine release. On ambi bolt release, I personally don't really care about because I use my pointer finger to drop the bolt. If your fingers are too short to do that consistently, then an ambi bolt release like this or bolt catch might be helpful to where, like Brennan was saying, you can keep your thumb up and then drop it from there just like you would a righty. But I personally don't do that, so I don't like that a whole lot. What I do is same exact thing as the last time, or as I was demoing previously with the bolt release. However, this time I can hit the magazine release with my pointer finger. I don't have to drop my support hand back to hit this. This support hand can go right back to the mag at the same time that I'm hitting the magazine release, which is, it's very efficient. So that's gonna cut off maybe somewhere around 0.4, 0.5 seconds. We'll see what we can get. All right, let's demo that at 50% speed and kind of show you how the efficiency is going to help us out a good bit. Here we go. Stand by. As you can see, super efficient. I was not pushing any hand speed, and that was a 233. So about a half second quicker. All right, so let's add a little bit more hand speed and see what kind of Instagram reloads we can get here. Stand by. Okay, so what's happening there, I'm just gonna go ahead and show this on camera. This is like the third or fourth time it's happened. So what's happening is because my fingers are so long, after I pull the trigger, right, my finger normally comes up to a Forward Controls EMRA, which is an Ambi magazine release, just kind of a drop in on a mil spec, which is probably a half an inch forward of what this one is on the Griffin. So I'm actually hitting this with like my knuckle, and it's a way more inconsistent, I find, which is why I've kind of been having some issues here. So let's go ahead and see if I can fix that by taking a glove off. We're just rolling with the punches. All right, here we go. All right, that should be easier. All right, let's try that again. Here we go. Stand by. Okay, that was a 142 reload. Should I do one more?
It's up to you.
All right, let's do it one more time just to prove it's not a circus trick. Probably flub this one. Here we go. Stand by. Okay, that was a 136. So as you can see, super efficient. Being a left-handed person, shooting rifles, for once, it's like an advantage. So as long as you have the right parts in your lower to make everything a little bit more efficient, kind of turns everything to easy mode.
All right, so a rare instance for you guys, as a treat, you get to see me work out of kit. I really don't do this too much. I think it's important to know how your kit is set up and how to use it effectively. However, for all of kind of the force on force or more real world type stuff that I've training that I've done, it's never been anything that's been super mechanics heavy, but I do think you should know how your gear is set up and how it should work for you. So something that's a little bit different training out of a plate carrier or a chest rig, they're going to behave very much the same way, is the way we grip the mag out of the plate carrier. So some people, I saw this from Mil-Spec Mojo first, he will kind of come behind the mag and pull it away from his body and then grip the mag out like this, and so now he has a very traditional kind of beer can grip on the magazine. That seems to work really well for him, but it, I think, is a little bit dependent on your setup. You are still kind of bringing your hand back and kind of kind of sliding your hand in there, almost like a reverse karate chop, pushing the mag away and then pulling the mag out, and then that sets you up pretty well. I think a little bit easier way to do it is simply to just drop your hand straight down onto the magazine, bring it out, and grip the magazine just like this. Now here is where, for a right-handed shooter, an Ambi lower such as this one from Griffin is very, very helpful. So what we could do is, if I am forced to grab the magazine like this, the first option is, of course, to insert the mag and then run my hand up and hit the bolt release on the left side like normal. The other option is to bring this up, and as I insert this, I'm staging my index finger on that bolt release, and as soon as it seats, just send the bolt forward and then roll back into my reload. So I think that is something that is pretty nice. You can also do this with something like a Magpul bad lever, but having these guns that are set up for it like that already are pretty nice. So let's go ahead and try this out. A couple reloads here. I'm just giving you guys an idea of what this looks like. Oh wait, no. Sorry, I'm forgetting what I'm doing. There we go. Let's give you guys an idea of what this looks like. Just like a one reload 3 here, and yeah, just going nice and easy, 50% speed. I'll demo on this side first, and then I'll also show you on the other side what that kind of looks like. So first side, using the Ambi release. Here we go, stand by. All right, super nice and simple. As you can see, it can be a little bit awkward to get your finger up there, but it is a super viable way to do it. So now let's go ahead and show you just kind of the differences, what it would look like just to change your grip. So Justin, if you want to maybe come on the left side, I'll show dropping this, just how you have to change your hand position a little bit more. All right, here we go, stand by. So as you can see for that, it's almost kind of like a 2 or 3 step process. The mag goes in like this. I have to run my hand up the mag, hit the bolt release, and then find the rail. Versus on the other side, I'm not gonna have that issue. So if I just run it from the other side, super easy. Bolt goes down, and you can see all I have to do is make sure the magazine goes in, my hand pauses here, and then goes right back to the rail. So if you do have a gun that is set up with Ambi controls and you do have a way to drop the bolt on the right side of the gun as a right-handed shooter, I do think that is fairly useful if you are working out of something like a plate carrier or a chest rig. All right, guys, there you have it. That's our take on rifle reloads. Nothing spectacular, nothing fancy, just really simple, basic stuff. If you are really serious about getting good at them, highly recommend working them in dry fire. I know I need to hit the rifle reloads a little bit more in dry fire for sure. And also, if you're going to reload from different kind of belt setups or chest rig setups, make sure you're also getting in some reps on that. Guys, until next time, keep practicing and shooting, and we'll see you on the range. If you have a gun that's set up like this and you do have the ability to drop the bolt on the right side of the gun, I think that is something that's fairly useful when you're working out of something like a chest has like a chest carrier.
You're welcome.